Hey guys, Nick Evenson here. Thanks for joining me. Today I'm at Raccoon Mountain. It's the end of March here in Chattanooga, and we've had about 3 weeks of rain, and it's been pretty miserable for everybody who likes to get out and ride bikes. But finally, it's about 70 something degrees probably right now, and we've had a few nice days of sun, and so I've decided to come on down to Raccoon and give it a good ride. We have some great trails here. There's a lot of fun downhill descents and some technical chunky sections, and usually I ride a cross-country bike, but today I've got a chance to ride something different. This is the Santa Cruz Bronson, and I got this as a demo bike from Eastridge Bicycles, so thank you Eastridge for hooking me up for the day. In the future, I'm looking to go to maybe a bigger travel bike. This is 150 mil, and this is also a 27.5 wheel. Usually I ride a 29er, so there's a small difference there, but it's gonna be a good day for a ride. We will hit some of the awesome stuff here at Raccoon, and I'll share my thoughts with you on the Bronson, so let's hit the trail. So let's start off with talking just a little bit about the kind of riding that I do, because my perspective may be different than yours based on the kind of trails I ride. So the kind of trails that we have here in my hometown, we have a lot of cross-country, fast, smooth, just flowy trails. And then we have some old school kind of tech, old school mountain bike trails. Raccoon is a good example. That's where I took this Bronson. And then we have a few newer trails that are being developed and have been developed recently that are kind of flowy jump lines and more downhill gravity oriented trails. But for the majority of what we have, it's cross country or kind of all mountain bikes that most people ride. I've been on a cross country bike for the last 10 years basically. And in there I've ridden some mid-travel bikes in different areas out in Colorado and Utah, over in the UK, had great times on those bikes, and they actually climbed really well still and were pretty light. So not a whole lot of advantage in my cross-country bike compared to some of those. And then I've ridden downhill once or twice on full, 200 millimeter travel downhill bikes, and those are pretty insane, but we don't have trails around here that warrant that kind of need. So riding the Bronson was interesting for me because it was kind of a question in my mind, is this bike too much bike for the trails that I ride normally? It's 150 millimeters of travel in the back and 160 up front, but the question was, is that too much? Now, I got this demo bike from Eastridge and it weighs 34 pounds. This has the NX drivetrain on it. It's aluminum. It's not the cream of the crop, but is a great demo bike, and it really gave me a good idea of is this amount of travel how much I need. Here at Raccoon, this was a good test part because as you'll see right here, we've got some great descents that are really rocky, a little bit technical, and that's where this bike really comes alive. When you point it downhill, it just goes, and you don't have to worry too much about exactly where the rocks are and where your line is. The suspension is so good, it just chews it up. I did notice the wheelbase right here felt a little bit long because this is a pretty slack geometry bike. And so the wheelbase was pretty long, so making that hairpin corner, even though it's a 27.5 inch wheel, still felt, a little bit cumbersome. Probably after getting used to it for a little bit, it'd be a lot easier. But little drops like this and going over these rocks, no problem at all. So this bike was awesome going down hills, but when it was time to turn it back up the hill, that's where it became a little bit more difficult. Sections going down, like that section right there, didn't even have to worry about what line I was choosing. I just went right through the middle of that pile of rocks, which usually I'd skirt around it, but it was so easy on this bike that, it just soaked it up. But going back uphill is where it started to become a little bit more difficult. This bike, 34 pounds, so it's heavier by about 5 pounds than my bike that I'm used to. So there's that, and then the DHR Minion tires on this bike provided endless traction, but it felt pretty slow to spin up whenever I was re-accelerating, and that was something that really kind of bugged me because on my little cross-country bike, my little skinny cross-country tires spin up so fast. I've got carbon wheels on it, so it spins up really fast. This took some getting used to, and over the course of 2.5 hours during my ride, it really took it out of me. I was pretty tired by the end of it. The suspension is actually quite supportive in the mid-stroke, and so as a pedaling platform when you're climbing, it doesn't feel like it bobs at all. And that was rather impressive to me. It just felt a bit sluggish trying to accelerate to get up the climbs. So the sections where the bike really came alive for me were any time there was a rocky descent where I wanted to carry a lot of speed, this bike was awesome for that. Any steep or technical descents, that's where this bike really came alive. Right here, dropping over these little ledges and rocks, it was perfect for that. Drops of any size, you know, if you had a 6 or 10 foot drop, it probably would be fine on that. Ideally, if I was to own this bike, I'd want to have some lift access trails nearby, because going down is so much fun. Climbing is a bit of a chore though, so there's that trade-off, you know, but if I had lift access, this would be a great choice. So these drops here out at Raccoon, no problem. They were super fun, super easy. Everything felt really easy descending. I focused a bit more and had a little bit more reservation when I was riding my cross-country bike on this stuff, but like right here, rolling this rock feature, not a problem at all. Didn't even think twice about it. So that kind of confidence that comes from having a bike like this with extra suspension is just a really cool thing. But there's that trade-off. Is it gonna be as fun climbing as it is going down? Not necessarily. I wanted to try it on another trail, so I headed over to White Oak Mountain to the Nutty-Buddy downhill flow trail. And this is a trail that I've ridden a lot recently over the last 6 or 8 months since it's been open, and I've done it all on my cross-country bike. And so this is the first time I've been on a more appropriate bike for this trail. There's a couple drops on this, and there's some good-sized jumps. And I've never done it with a bike that had modern suspension or, you know, a nice long travel bike. So I was curious to see how it would do. All right, so here we go. We're getting into the Nutty-Buddy Trail here, and first berm on it felt really great. The amount of traction out of these tires is just endless. It felt like it was so grippy. Trail conditions were actually really great this day too, but a little bit of gravel. Sometimes my little cross-country tires want to slip out on that stuff, but riding the Bronson with these Maxxis Minion tires, there was so much traction. And having more suspension, I felt like it was easy to load it up and then just really fly over. And I was actually sending these jumps a little bit long, which on my cross-country bike, it's easy to hit them just right. But on this bike, I was going a little bit long on some of them. This second drop here is a little bit bigger, and the suspension it just felt like I just floated right through it. It was really great. And right here in this little bit of a wall ride, there's kind of some chattery rock on the way down there, but this thing was super smooth across that. And right here, the amount of traction coming in right here, that's usually an area where I have a little bit of trouble with my little tires, but these great big Minions made it easy work of that. Now this is a pedally section here that I was talking about. I felt like I was just really laboring to get the bike to accelerate through here, because you want to carry a bit of speed into this lower section, particularly for the first jump. And so I was working to try and get my speed up here, and I think I might have cased it just a little bit. Not too bad, but just a little bit. But then the rest of them were fine. And the suspension right through here was just awesome. This whole trail felt super easy, and I could see myself definitely learning to send it farther if I had a bike like this all the time. Now, interestingly enough, I did not set my all-time personal record on this trail on this bike during the ride today. I've actually done it faster on my cross-country bike, and I think that's probably just because of the pedally sections. I was able to do a little bit faster on my regular bike. And also, this being a demo bike, you know, I don't want to destroy it, and want to make sure I don't break it and end up buying it. So I took it a little bit easier than I might have if I hadn't been riding, you know, if I'd been riding this bike for a month, I'd probably be riding it a bit faster too. So that was my ride on the Bronson. Thanks again to Eastridge for making your demo fleet available to us. And overall, I thought the Bronson was a great bike. What's your thoughts on kind of the best all-mountain bike? What kind of trails do you ride? Leave a comment below, let me know. I want to get into a bigger travel bike, maybe a mid-travel 29er probably. So let me know in the comments what you recommend. Also, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends, leave a comment, hit that bell for notifications down the road. And then also, if you're watching this video soon after it gets published, you'll know that we're right in the middle of this global pandemic. And so just a quick word, it's not a good time, regardless of what your thoughts are about what the government should be doing or shouldn't be doing, it's a good time to stay out of the hospital. So ride safe and take it easy out there on the trails. We'll see you in the next one.